my gosh, here we go.
All right.
Okay. Hey guys, it is senior moment time.
Are we live?
No, we're not live.
Oh.
We're on.
Have another Mike's Hard Lemonade, Dave.
So we're doing a senior moment with the family. So I'm going to have, Vicky is actually filming. She's going to go around and introduce everybody. Surprise. I don't know where that came from, but
it worked.
All right,
Yeah.
let's start over here, Nat Monet.
I'm Nat Monet from Alaska. I'm sister, daughter.
Nephew Jimmy from Hawaii.
My son.
I'm Susie from Hawaii.
And you know what? She just
I was
dropped-
just walking down the street and decided to join in.
Our Hawaiian princess.
I'm Steve. I'm the worst half of Renee.
All righty.
so we are going to do kind of a, I don't know, we're winging it here. We're going to try and do a senior moment, and we're going to all ask questions of Dad based on his life experiences. So I'll start it off, although I don't know where, but okay, so Dad, I don't think we've ever talked about your siblings. You grew up, and how many siblings did you have? And, are they
I had a
older?
brother and a sister.
Okay.
My brother, Jim, he's a couple years older than me. That makes him about 90, almost 90.
And he's still alive.
And he lives in Washington.
He sure looks like you.
And unfortunately, he didn't take as good care of himself as he could have. And he's almost blind now. And he can't drive and has to have somebody get him around when he wants to get around. My sister took even worse care of herself, but she passed away. And I'm still 88 and going great. I'll be 88 in another few months.
Oh, 88 and going great. You just did a slogan there.
I like that.
And you were, and how did you were the baby, right? You were
Yeah,
the
I was a baby of the family.
Gotcha.
I'm the one that got the special privileges. I remember the reason I learned how to read, as a matter of fact. I used to lay in Mama's lap. Every Saturday we'd get the Saturday Evening Post. Your older people will remember that. And Mama would read those stories to us three kids. And since I was a little one, I would lay across Mama's lap where she would read. And she would take her finger and she would follow the line that she was reading. And I would watch her finger. Long before I ever started school, I could read just because of the way Mama read those stories to us. And I would follow along her finger, and I would learn those words. Long before I started school, I could read. So I was reading, literally, I was reading high school books when I was in the second, third grade. Simply because of the way Mama taught us to read.
So let me picture this. You're laying in Grandma's lap, and where's Jim and Louise?
They're sitting by the stove. This is where we lived.
So they were illiterate, yet clear into high school. But you could read.
Yeah, they didn't learn to read till they went to school. I had learned to read long before my sister and brother could read. They could read comic books, but I could read
Words.
I could read literature.
Yeah.
And literally, it would because Mama would read to us.
Do you think she did that do you think that she was?
She had no idea.
She didn't know
She started using her finger, and when she stopped doing it, I'd say, "No, Mama, follow with your finger so I could see the words."
Yeah.
And so she did, and because of that, I could read literature when I was in the third grade.
Oh, cool.
Fascinating. And you guys were living in.
We lived in Molalla. My memories of the cabin we lived in Molalla. My dad would cut cordwood, 50 cents a cord for cutting cordwood, and us kids walked to Fernwood School. It's about 4 miles, and we would walk to school every day. And that was when they had 8 rows of desks in the school. They had a row for first graders, row for second graders, third graders, up to the 8th grade. And I was the only one in the first grade. There was nobody in the second grade. So I was doing the 3rd and 4th grade work when I was in the first grade. And I was pretty much free to do as I wanted to do because I was the only six-year-old there. Everybody else was 7 or 8 or 10 or older. And
So again, you were the baby.
I was a baby,
Of the
baby
school.
of the school, baby of the family. And those were good days. There's a lot of I've forgotten about stuff that happened up then, but I can remember my brother and I going out and hunting snakes with rocks, killing a rattlesnake on the road one time, big rattlesnake. We threw rocks at him till we killed him. And I remember one time going to school, there was a fox, got caught in the fence, trying to get through a fence, and he got caught. And we wanted to get him out of the fence, my brother and I wanted to get him out of the fence, but we'd get even close to him, he'd start snapping at us and growling. And so we finally got a couple of big sticks and hooked onto the fence, and pulled the fence till the fox got loose and run off.
That's
I can remember that pretty clear.
That's cool.
There's a lot of things that went on in those days that if I start thinking back, I can remember things that happened, but it's just, some of it's a blur, but some of it's clear as a bell. So yeah, I had a brother and a sister.
That's the long
So
version.
when you were in school, I know when I was in school early on, they had, time for schooling, then they had a recess. Was that the way it was when you were in school? Was there ever a recess time?
Oh yeah, there was always recess. School started about 8 or 8:15, so it was recess at 10 o'clock. Then we had lunch. Then we had an afternoon recess, and school was out at 3:30.
So in recess, did you have like play stuff out in the schoolyard, or?
Well, we usually had a stick with a can that we knocked this can around like we was playing soccer or something, kicking this can around.
So there wasn't. So I know that's very.
There was no such thing as playground equipment.
That's what I was
Playground equipment in those days was sticks and rocks and cans.
Yeah, there you go.
And occasionally we played with the girls, but that was a whole different story.
I think that's
In
junior.
our restroom, in outhouses, we didn't have any indoor restrooms, nor did we have any indoor plumbing. So if we had to go to the bathroom, we had to raise our hand, then we had to go to an outhouse. An outhouse was simply a building that was set over
A hole.
a hole. Yeah. And that was our.
Was there a boys and girls?
Yes.
Oh, there
Boys
was.
and girls, yeah.
Wow, I wouldn't even, of course. That's way back then.
That was
All right, let's hold up.
That was, well, I was born in 34.
Dave.
I was in
Dave, hold up.
38, 39.
We can't hear you.
That's our concern.
You can't hear me?
Well, not with the truck going behind you.
Oh,
All right.
the truck's going by now.
Yeah, now you can
Are we
talk.
back?
Carry on.
You're back.
Are we back recording?
Yeah.
So yeah, there was our outhouse was our boys and girls room, and as I recall, the teachers used the same outhouse as we did. They didn't have separate facilities for the teachers. We had no cafeteria. Mama always made sandwiches for us, and we would either sit at our desk and eat our sandwich, or we'd go outside and eat our sandwich. Generally, there was a table outside, but that was our playground equipment.
So sandwiches. I'm curious. What did you eat? What kind of sandwiches?
Just usually some kind of meat sandwich,
Okay.
peanut butter and jelly, a lot of peanut butter and
Okay.
jelly.
Okay.
Mama would mix Caro syrup with peanut butter, put that on a sandwich, and we'd have Caro syrup and peanut butter sandwiches.
Okay.
And we generally had some fruit because there was fruit trees around. So we generally had a piece of fruit, but it was usually just a sandwich.
Okay.
And
Brown paper bag, I assume?
Brown paper bag. Yeah, with no plastic.
Yeah.
Plastic wasn't even invented in those days.
Was it just like a
was wondering
hobo
whether They
stick?
had the metal tins, the metal lunch boxes.
No.
Back then.
No,
was
I never
before
had a
that
metal lunchbox until I was probably in the 6th or 7th grade before I had a metal lunchbox.
Well, at least you didn't have to go in a gunny sack, you know.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of things happen in gunny sacks. we go to town, like on a Saturday night, and we buy a gunny sack full of potatoes for $1, 100 pounds of potatoes for $1, or 75 pounds in a gunny sack.
Yeah.
And that's what we eat for the next week.
Potatoes. That's
Potatoes.
why you don't like potato soup to this day, I guess.
Potato soup I don't like, but I love fried potatoes and
Mashed potatoes.
and
Baked
mashed
potatoes.
and
Baked
scalloped
potatoes.
potatoes.
Yeah.
Potatoes mixed with onion with eggs.
Yeah.
Mommy used to cook potatoes pretty good.
So when she cooked, was she on a grill or a
Grill.
or a griddle? Or that's what I meant to say.
We had a wood stove. It had 4 holes. You took the lids off, built a fire in there, and put the lids back on. And then off to one side there was a warming oven, and everything that she cooked, she put in the warming oven until it was time to put it on the table.
How was that warming oven connected to the stove?
It was connected only in that it was connected, but the heat would go from the stove into the warming oven.
Just being in close proximity.
Yeah, just
Okay.
and it was connected to the stove, but the heat would transfer. So when Mama would cook something on the stove, before she'd take it to the table, she'd put it in the warming oven and get everything ready, including hot cakes, whatever, it all went in the warming oven. Then when she set the table, we all sit down and eat, and it was all ready.
Cool.
Okay.
That was the way it was when I was a kid.
Electric lights or oil lanterns?
Oil lanterns, kerosene lanterns, yeah.
Wow.
And I remember Dad, like John Wayne, Dad would take a cigarette, roll a cigarette, and you get over the lamp, and the heat come up out of the kerosene lamp. He'd light a cigarette that way,
Really?
and that was our light at night.
Yeah.
And when us kids go to bed, Mom would turn the lamp down, and Mom and Daddy would sit in the other room, play cribbage, usually playing cribbage.
Yeah.
They'd keep the lamp down low so the light wouldn't bother us kids.
Because you were in a one-room cabin kind of thing?
It was one room cabin, but we had a blanket across there that was separated
Yeah.
Wow.
our sleeping space from Mom and Dad.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Okay, babe.
All right, well, ask questions, guys.
I don't know. Let's see. I remember when we lived in the Bay Area, San Jose, that you had a boat with a friend, and that we would go out on a boat every once.
Dick Donard and I had a 27-foot. That's amazing. 27-foot cabin cruiser, but before that, before we got the cabin cruiser, we had what's called a double ender, which is an old whaling boat. At both ends come up like an old Viking ship. And it was a double ender. And I remember we decided to put an engine in that thing. It had a little Buddha diesel in it. We decided to put a big engine in it. So we got a 327 Chevy engine. Dick was a pretty good mechanic. And he started manipulating with it. The thing about a double ender is they bounce in the water. They tip like this. So we thought it'd be a good idea if we put some ballast in there. So we were harbored at the Point San Pablo Harbor, which is right next to a whaling station, which is a whole other story I'll tell you about sometime. Remind me to tell you about the whaling station.
I will not forget.
We decided to put some ballast in there to keep this boat from bouncing in the water when we took it out in the bay. So we got 6 bags of cement and mixed cement and made a little deck down in the bottom of this boat and right up to the not the gunnels, but right up to the shaft where the shaft went down into the water. And we were at Point San Pablo Harbor. Well, at Point San Pablo, when the tide went out of the San Francisco Bay, all the boats in that port, the water would run out, so they'd be down in the mud. And I worked for Remington Arms Company, and I got a call about 11 o'clock one morning. And I said, hello. And he said, is this Dave? And I said, yeah. He said, this is a harbor master out of Point San Pablo. He said, your boat's underwater. All you can see is a light. And we had a light up above. So we got in the car, Dick and I, and went out there. What happened was all the cement that we put in there, when the boat sank in the mud, when the tide went out, the boat was in the mud. The tide come in, the boat didn't float. What happened was it came in and it came up, we didn't have it caulked above the, caulked, that is caulking to close the seams above the concrete. And the tide just kept coming up and the boat stayed there.
Oh my
And it
God.
completely filled the boat up.
Oh my
So
God.
we got out there, he was right. The only thing you could see was the light sticking up above the tide. And so we sat out there and waited for the tide to go out. And then the boat emptied out. We emptied it out and got it floating. And we caulked it again. And from that time on, we had the caulking in there and floated.
Yeah.
But until then, when we went out there,
Oh my
that boat
God.
was stuck in the mud. The only thing showing was the light 6 feet above the
So
water.
did the ballast work once you got it?
Yeah, once we got it caulked again where the water didn't come in, the ballast did work pretty
Really?
good.
Fascinating.
We eventually sold that, and then we got bought a 26-foot cabin cruiser. Was the one that you remember.
Yeah.
And
How did that 327 work with the shaft and the prop? Did that
it worked good.
That moved that
Yeah,
thing?
it moved, yeah. With that Buddha diesel, we were traveling about 4 or 5 knots, which is 3 or 4 miles an hour. We put that 327 in there, we could actually get that thing planing. It'd do about 20 miles, and fast enough to water ski behind it.
Really?
Yeah.
Fascinating.
We take it out across the bay and but it was a good old boat. Then we traded that into a 26-foot cabin cruiser and had a good time on that. We had good fishing trips.
Yeah.
We used to go out to the Farallon Islands, which was about 20 miles off of out through the gate. Literally, we go out the Golden Gate, go out to the Farallon Islands and back. All kinds of fishing. I remember one time we was fishing out there. We saw this huge fin following us, and I mean a fin maybe this big out of the water, and it was kind of drooping over.
Like an orca?
Yeah, it was an orca.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had no idea. I thought it was a shark.
Yeah.
And I had a 357 Magnum at the time, and I got it out, and I was going to shoot that sucker. And Dick Donard said, "No," I said, I believe that's an orca.
Yeah.
We don't want to shoot those."
Yeah.
So I didn't shoot it, but he followed us for, I guess a couple miles. I guess expecting us to throw some
Yeah.
little fish stuff off of the boat. But
Yeah.
that was, those were good days. That was a good memory.
I
Thank you.
remember that. I remember
That was a
that.
good memory.
All right, well, Vic says we're out of time, guys. We're going to have to shut it down. I imagine you'll be hearing more, though. We'll probably do some more later on. So, say goodbye, everybody.
That's all for this time.
Bye.
See you next time.
Bye, guys.
We got all the gang down here visiting us.